Hello and welcome into your space. We're talking all things the crown center today. The crown is that top triangle at the top of your head that you can see in your body graph. So grab your drink and let's sit down and work through all things the crown, the head, wherever you're comfortable calling it. There's no correct thing here. But why is it here? What's it for? So your head center is the center for ideas, inspiration. But it's also the center of confusion, doubt, and suspicion. The mind. It's one of two centers in your energetic chart that is a pressure center, and this is mental pressure. So if you have this center defined, which about 30% of you do, you will have the ability to run inspiration like a consistent pressure. Yeah, it doesn't increase, it doesn't decrease. It's a fairly consistent pressure. And it's to ask and answer questions in the way that the mind works. For absolute clarity, you'll notice from the authorities that the mind is not one. This is not the centre for making decisions. It's the centre for receiving or running information, but it's not the centre that we make decisions from. The head puts pressure on the mind in various ways, either to find out solutions and answers, to sort out something that happened in the past that you're running, or to know what is completely unknowable, the mysteries of life, the things that don't quite make sense. Now, if you have a defined head, you could be running these questions ad nauseum. If you have an undefined head or crown, these things aren't just filtered through our own experiences coming from within us. They are also filtered through your the experiences of everything around you. This pressure to kind of make sense of the world can be relentless. If your head is filled with questions when it is undefined, then it can be really difficult if you feel you can't find the answers. So rethinking the head center and what it's about is, if your head is defined, your energy will put pressure on it to think and share your thoughts with those around you. Your thoughts are literally there to be thought, not to manifest anything from. Mulling, I think, is probably a really nice term. This is the centre for mulling information, not deciding on it. Mull the thought and pass it through your emotional solar plexus to see how you feel about that thought. Mull the thought and ask yourself an open or closed question to decide if you've got a sacral authority, yes or no. Is this for me? Is this not for me? Is this right? Is this not right? And trust your intuition here. Trust your sacral to give you that response. Mull the thought and run it through your spleen. Or speak the thoughts out loud without asking anybody else for their input. Do you see how the authority and the centers now come together? This is why your mind, this center for inspiration, this center for thoughts, not decisions to come from here. The decisions come from your authority center. So again, if you have an emotional authority, how do you feel about your thoughts? If you have a sacral authority, is it a yes or no thing? Do I need to think about this? No? Okay, find a way to stop, distract yourself, or many other things. They may not even be your thoughts if you have an open head. It could be, if you have an open center at the head, don't forget you're taking in and amplifying the thoughts of everybody else around you, and it creates significant pressure to find answers that you're not here to find. Your mind is meant to engage in possibility, in imagination. It's not designed to figure it out. Experiences figure things out. The thoughts will run the palette of previous personal experiences with the defined head, or historic and learned experiences from your environment. But your mental health really does rely on you using your strategy and authority, understanding that this centre is not the centre for making your choices and decisions. It comes away from the logic that we have valued for a long time. In human design, it recognises we've been through this period since pre-industrial revolution. This is the time when we were figuring things out and less aligned with ideas of faith and things we couldn't prove or evidence. That's not to say that if you have a thought, you might not want to go and find the evidence that supports that thought. If that's your feeling, or your sacral response, or your splenic need, if you have the energy for it, if you are led by your will centre, or if you've bounced it off of somebody and come up with this and that feels good, then that's the answer. You can experience questions without taking them on as your own. And mindfulness is a fantastic practice so that you can learn to become the observer of your thoughts rather than the receiver of the pressure that these thoughts actually bring. If you have an undefined head center, which 70% roughly of the population do, an undefined or open head center is here to be wise about inspiration and ideas, to explore the mysteries without attaching to them, and to understand that there is an infinite range of possibilities rather than to drive yourself mad trying to work out what they are. To be open to awe and wonder is the beauty of life, when you can detach from it slightly and let it go as something you need to solve, because that's the pressure. It's not something you need to solve, it's something to observe. And if the thought doesn't go away and the mulling it in your mind is not being helped running through your centres, it's probably not your thought. It's coming from somewhere else. Now the crown has 3 gates. These are the gate 64, which is the gate of confusion, where there is pressure to resolve confusion, making sense of the past, running those thoughts. If you have any colour in that gate by that number, it's an active thing. Let's see if that resonates. The gate 61 is called the gate of mystery. And these are things that are supposed to be a mystery, either to drive you forward to find the evidence to resolve it. You may be that way inclined when you run it through your decision-making centres. But wanting to know the unknowable can create a different pressure in the head centre. It's either a pressure that is a drive to move forward with this thought or idea. It's not meant to be stagnant. Pressure doesn't create stagnation. It should create a drive to move forward if it's aligned with your strategy and authority. If your authority says, I need to explore this, then it will drive you to take action. The same with the gate 63, and I think this is where a lot of it resonates with people, is the doubt and suspicion gate. This is the centre for logic, one we're all very familiar with because it is part of our social conditioning. But it's meant to be applied to the collective and not yourself. If you question, doubt everything, then again, come back to your strategy and your authority. If your strategy is to respond, it's a question that's come to you and it requires a response. You need to look at your authority as to where you should be responding from. If you have a sacral authority, it's going to be a closed question to the sacral as to whether you need to respond first. Do I need to respond to this? And allow the sacral to guide you. If you have an emotional authority, how do I feel about this? And give yourself time to process those feelings. If you have a splenic response, it will be very quick. I am doubtful of something because it affects my safety or my security. And the spleen needs to be heard at that point. So the thought is never a thought. An inspiration is never an inspiration that stands alone. When you remove the pressure at the head centre to answer the questions, resolve the mystery and be all the things with your head, you feel into the response that you can give it from your strategy and your authority. So the crown and the head are here to inspire you to question the things that come up and see if they're for you. They are not there to apply pressure to make choices and decisions purely from the head, purely from that logic centre, because that can only create more pressure. As a pressure centre, it can only create more pressure. So there's often with an individual chart, you can see much more from that. If you're curious, let me know. And we can examine the head further if you feel that that is something that you need to do, or you make a decision from your strategy or authority that this would be the right course for you. As an open head, differentiating between my thoughts and somebody else's, and the pressure coming from myself and the pressure coming from somebody else or my environment, has been quite key to understanding that I'm not here to solve all the things. That there are some things that are very much aligned with me and some things that are not, but they will be aligned with somebody else. And to trust that everything has its time and space. These are all things that mindfulness can teach you to look after the crown. And I hope this goes some way to helping. Please play this as many times as you need to help understand your defined or your open crown centre. So I'm sending you so much love, and I will catch up with you tomorrow when we look at the ajna, or your third eye.